What's going on, everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast. I'm your host, Max Torres with Scoop Duck on 3, coming to you on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, for another edition of everybody's favorite Tuesday with Ted. We are joined by Scoop Duck on 3 contributor and host of that show out west, the man himself, Ted Leroux. Ted, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a what is it? It's a 3-0 Tuesday here, and I'm always excited for this appearance each week. So certainly a lot to talk about. Civil War week, of course, coming up with the Beavers coming into town at Autzen Stadium. Of course, earlier in the week, the Shoe Duck uniforms is something a lot of people were talking about, and those are just amazing. Amazing what everybody, all the design team and the Van Horn brands and everybody that's kind of involved in that process and what they've done. So there's certainly a lot going on this week.
There is a lot going on. And for guys like you and myself, we love it when there's a lot going on
Yep.
because it gives us plenty to talk about here on the podcast, here on the YouTube channel, the Scoop Duck on 3 YouTube channel, or over on scoopduck.com. Reminder, you can get yourself started with the Scoop Duck membership today for just $1. And we'd love for you guys to be a part of the party over there on Scoop Duck. So, Ted, to kind of get things going today, I thought that we would dive a little bit more into Oregon's 34-13 win over Northwestern on the road out there in stormy, but then kind of beautiful Evanston, Illinois. That's kind of what we like to do is wrap up the previous week and then kind of get on to this week. So, just kind of hit me with what stood out to you from that 20-point win on the road.
For some of the people that were for some of the Ducks that flocked out to Chicago, they got a little bit of a taste of what Midwest weather can be. You got the spring in the morning with the thunderstorms and the rain. You got the sunny skies, and it felt like summer. And well, you're sitting there in the fall in September. So you really got 3 seasons in one day. So you love to see it. So, well, that's the Midwest weather kind of in a nutshell. But I think when I start to break down this game, I mean, was it Oregon's best performance of the year? No, obviously not. Those were the Montana State and Oklahoma State. I mean, those were A-plus type of performances. But I said it in my post-game recap over on TSOW. I'm like, this looked like a young team going on the road, facing a scrappy Big Ten opponent in an early morning kickoff. That's what it looked like. And that's exactly kind of how it played out on Saturday. But, just kind of a few bullet points for me. I mean, when maybe the whole team wasn't playing maybe their most energetic game right out of the gate, they weren't playing maybe their best game out of the gate, Dante Moore's like, well, I'm going to take this and I'm going to spark this offense. I'm going to still maintain that level of play that I've been, and I lift this team up. Dante just feels like one of those quarterbacks. You see it, there's been guys throughout at the NFL level that just make everybody better around them. And that's what it seems like Dante. I mean, I think it was the drive. It was the drive that ended with the Kenyon Sadiq touchdown towards the end of the first half. I mean, 11 plays, 89 yards, and he had, I believe it was 3 pass completions that were that were 20 or more yards. So he's just a guy that's just consistently good. And there was, pockets maybe weren't, I mean, still no sacks, right? There still wasn't a ton of pressure on Dante. Offensive line, I think, still did a solid job, but there were a few occasions where he kind of had to spin out of the pressure, roll out, kind of create something else with the pocket shrinking just a little bit. So I thought Dante, just each week, he kind of shows something different. He shows a different level to his game, and I certainly think he sparked this offense as well. I think a lot of people are going to look to the run defense, allowing over 170 yards in this game and be like, oh no, is it here we go again? Are they going to have problems defending the run once again? I thought it was more inconsistent than anything as far as the run defense goes. I mean, you had a 79-yard run there at the
Towards
end,
the end of the game, yeah.
in garbage time. If that one doesn't go off, the Northwestern's sitting right around 100 yards, and I think that's a good performance against the run. And you take out the 79-yard run, and I know this is people kind of go through the cafeteria a little bit, but bear with me. If you take that first drive of the first quarter, the first drive of the third quarter, and you take that 78-yard run out, Northwestern's only rushing for 38 yards. So that's, I think, where I get the inconsistent. So I think they just need to get more consistent as well. I think it all comes down to maybe, the early morning kickoff type of thing. And, I know they were, Dan Lanning said they're going out there, they're practicing early, they're doing all that sort of thing. But from a practice situation to a game situation, it's just a little bit different. And Northwestern, they're just, I mean, historically, they've just been a pain to play. They're just a scrappy bunch. It's just, they're never really overly talented against almost any team that they play on their schedule, but they just fight and claw, and they're always a hardworking team, whether it was Pat Fitzgerald era or now the David Braun era. So, hey, you get out of there with a win. It says a lot, I think, about the expectations of the team when maybe there's some folks in the fan base that are less than pleased with the performance. And this was an Oregon team that was up 34-0, and they came out with a 20-point win on the road in a Big Ten game. So I think this team is doing just fine right now.
I'm glad that you mentioned the early kick, Ted, because going into the game, I kind of leaned toward it being a little bit overplayed because Lanning and coaches addressed it. Like, we're getting up early, we're practicing around this time. But at the same time, I don't think we can look at what we saw on Saturday and say, oh, it didn't affect them at all. Like, they were fine. Like, clearly it had some bit of an effect because they were a bit slow to get things going. And maybe that points to the youth of this team a little bit. Like, they haven't been in a lot of those experiences. So now I really think after this weekend, it's like you'd rather have that kind of a showing now than in 2 weeks on the road in Happy Valley, where it's like, hey, you're in a whiteout game. Like, did you realize that? You should probably wake up. You just got punched in the mouth and you got to respond. Like, they did get, I don't know, punched in the mouth might be too aggressive because it was never like the game was in doubt. But there were times when you were like, hey, guys, like, are you going to get this thing going? What's going on there? And to your point, Dante Moore, I think, just did a great job of settling those guys in. And every week it feels like the way he carries himself is just having great impacts and great effects on this team. And man, just some of the balls that he threw, even though he only threw 20 of them, he was 16 of 20 with one pick. Not a crazy day stat wise, but man, Dante Moore is just going to be special. I love the way he's navigating the pocket, navigating pressure, and just he feels like a guy who is way more experienced than he actually is.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a great leader right now. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, I should say I've been saying it the last couple of weeks, multiple times. It's like that year going back to school, he just seems so much more prepared right now. And he's like, I kind of make another NFL type of comparison. It seems to me like this team is, in a lot of you need the quarterback, right, at the NFL to be able to make that run throughout the playoffs. Who has the best quarterback normally wins. And it seems like Dante, I look around at the rest of college football. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to me not to put him in a top 5 list, not to put him in a top 3 list right now in college football. And if you have him on the field continuing to get better each and every single week, he's going to give you a chance. And, the roster around him certainly doesn't hurt as well. And the offensive line and the weapons and what's going on with that offense. And, maybe the best play caller in the game in Will Stein right now. But it just seems like I look at a lot of teams in college football. I'm like, you put Dante whether it's on the road, whether it's at home, whether it's on a neutral field, which we know the last 3 rounds of the college football playoff are going to be on a neutral field. It just seems like, the more Dante just kind of gets entrenched into the system, the more confident he gets, and it's just going to keep getting better and better and better. And maybe he's the one that can lift Oregon to new heights this season. It's giving me a lot of confidence with 5 under center right now.
Dante sure looks great, Ted. And I wanted to get to one of the big takeaways because we owe it to the listeners to not only get into the positives when it comes to talking about the Ducks, because there were times where it was not the best on Saturday. And I think general line of scrimmage play, at least on first down, is kind of what Lanning had gotten to, was getting at in his Monday night press conference ahead of this week's game against Oregon State. He was talking about how they hadn't won the line of scrimmage consistently enough on first down against Northwestern. And I think that was maybe a bit more glaring on defense, given some of the runs that they were able to rip off. But like you said, if you take out some of those big runs, maybe it's just containing the explosive runs that give you a little bit more of a cause for concern against Northwestern, because overall, I think they kind of settled in, but they didn't play to their standard the entirety of the game. And that's why the fourth quarter left you with a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, like he said, walking off the field there in Evanston. So if you can put together a more complete performance and just show up throughout the entirety of the game, I think that's really going to go a long way. But I like the fire that Lanning has in him to say, I don't care who's in. I don't care what the situation is. We want to play to our standard regardless of who's on the field, and they came up short a bit against that with that last week.
Yeah, and I think that just comes back to when you talk about the run defense, it comes back to the consistency. You got to be more consistent. It kind of, and it kind of ties into that early kickoff that we were talking about. I was kind of through my rewatch. I knew that, okay, Northwestern was establishing the line of scrimmage throughout a good amount of this game, when they're running the ball on offense versus Oregon's defensive line. And I kind of really had an eye on the defensive line. They didn't look as explosive firing off the ball early, and especially, like I said, coming out in the beginning, that first drive of the first quarter and that first drive of the third quarter. And like you said, once they got settled in, it seemed to go well. I think there's a lot of people within the fan base right now that are kind of, they saw what Penn State did in the Big Ten championship last year, rushing for over 300 yards. They saw the explosive runs that Ohio State was able to get in the Rose Bowl. They saw at certain points during the season what the run defense was last year. And they're kind of taking that of what they already know, and they see Northwestern have a good rushing performance, and they're kind of carrying things over that it could be more of the same. But I thought there was some good performance from this defensive line. Once you get a little later in the game, you do see now, albeit maybe not all the time, but you do see guys working on the other side of the line of scrimmage and getting better defensively. And it still kind of cracks me up that we're talking about this and Oregon's got a goose egg. What, third quarter into the fourth quarter maybe? So it just goes to show you the high expectations, which when you recruit, when you have the success that Oregon has, yeah, you're going to develop these high of expectations. That's just how it should be. When you invest into the roster, right? We went through that with the Oklahoma State week. When you invest into the roster, these are the expectations that you have to be able to get better. But for me, I don't think we're going to learn a lot about the run defense if it's improved and cleaned things up against Oregon State. I'm sure we'll get into that. The barometer is Penn State. If Penn State goes out there and they rush for 250, 270, whatever as a team, then yeah, you might have an issue on your hands. But, I think for not just the run defense, but really as a whole team, we're going to learn so much of where Oregon sits from a national landscape when they go into Happy Valley and take on the Nittany Lions here in a couple of weeks.
I totally agree. And it's the barometer because stopping the run is the main objective of this defense each time they go out for a game and suit up on Saturdays. So after seeing what Penn State and Ohio State did to them at the tail end of last season, like it only makes sense why that was a question for fans of this team coming into the year. So I'm with you. I don't think we're going to learn a whole lot against Oregon State this week. When the Beavers come to town, they ran for just 8 yards against Texas Tech. I had to double check myself when I saw that stat, 8 yards. That is wild. But I think that Oregon certainly has the personnel for it. It's just maybe some of that consistency is because of a lack of snaps. So the more that you get under your belt, hopefully the more comfortable you're going to get. One of the brightest spots from this defense, Ted, and then maybe we'll get into some of what Lanning had to say last night a bit more. How about Jerry Mixon? I mean, the Jerry Mixon fan club has to be growing exponentially by the hour, by the day. I was already in the Jerry Mixon fan club. I feel like I was kind of banging that drum over at Scoop Duck all throughout fall camp. He's a Bay Area guy, so obviously I was rooting a little bit harder for him being a Bay Area native myself. But he was named Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, grabbed an interception in his second straight game, showed some of that running back that he has in him still from his high school days. He was trying to get another pick six. But it just seems like for all the questions that this Oregon defense had coming into the year, relatively young group, you're starting to get some clarity, and I'd also say some confidence there at linebacker with Jerry making a good case to be starting next to Bryce every week. Oh, yeah, he is. There's no doubt in my mind he's at the very least inside linebacker number 2. I know coming into throughout spring, Devin Jackson did not play. He was a little bit banged up during the spring, and I think early fall as well, didn't play in the spring game. Jerry Mixon had a really good spring game. I think that really stood out to me. And then once we got into fall camp, Jerry's getting a lot of those reps, and he's taken full advantage
of those reps. And, they talked about in the post-game press conference how Jerry is he's getting interception after interception after interception in practice. And now it's translating over to the field. And I think he's been in the program. He's been in Tosh's defense for multiple years. And I think it's that savvy veteran status right now that has him playing really intelligent football in terms of defending the pass, anticipating where these routes are going to be. Dan Lanning said he's kind of baiting in the quarterback to be able to throw it as well. I mean, two really good plays against Oklahoma State and against Northwestern. And he's no slouch against the run either. He's doing great things. Got a lot of really good speed and athleticism going from boundary to boundary. I mean, yeah, I think he's overtaken Devin Jackson at the number 2 role. I mean, there's some weeks where there's an argument that he's the best linebacker on this team. I truly believe that. So this is Jerry, you might know this better than anybody. I mean, he was the 800 something overall player in his recruiting class. He was a 3-star kid. This is a prime example of true development that is going on out there at Oregon, to see what he's been able, the steps that he's been able to make, getting better and better and better each and every single year. I love what he brings to this defense. This is maybe an example when Dan was asked after the spring game, are you going to the portal for linebacker? He says, nope, I think we're good. I think he saw 54 and maybe knew what he was going to get.
Yeah, Jerry Mixon, to your point on the development, I did a little Google search while you were talking there, Ted. So On3 had him as the number 103 linebacker in the 2023 recruiting class at a Sacred Heart Cathedral in San Francisco. 3-star, 86. And Lanning was also quick on Monday to give flowers to Brian Michalowski, Oregon's linebacker coach, and his ability as a developer of talent. And I think just building off of that, I'm interested to see how the rest of this room kind of develops as the year goes on, because once again, against Northwestern, we didn't see Braden Platt and we didn't see Dylan Williams. They were both listed as out on the injury report. So maybe we'll see some more of Kamar Matuidi going forward. I know Gavin Nix got a couple of snaps in some of those early home games to start off the year. But it seems like Oregon's defense does have some positives that we can take away from it, even if the run defense wasn't the best. We'll get into a little bit more of what we heard from Dan Lanning after this. Duck fans, are you going to the Oregon game this season? If you are, the Oakway Lifestyle Center at the corner of Oakway and Coburg is the destination for Duck fans. Whatever you're looking for, they've got it all. Get a bite to eat at Somerville Brewing or PF Chang's. Check out shops like Lululemon or Nordstrom Rack. Need a place to stay? Book your lodging at the Hyatt Place at Oakway Center and visit their rooftop bar. The Oakway Lifestyle Center is walking distance from Autzen Stadium, has something for everybody, and is a great post-game place to celebrate another Duck victory. Max Torres and Ted Leroux of Scoop Duck On3 back here with you on Tuesday TED Talk, with the Ducks turning their attention to the rival Oregon State Beavers, who make their way short little journey over to Eugene, Autzen Stadium. 12 p.m. kick on Saturday, number 6 Ducks versus the Beavers. That's on Big Ten Network. You'll have Jeff Levering, Jake Butt, and Brooke Fletcher on the call. Ted, one of the updates that we got from Lanning on Monday night is that Noah Whittington, starting running back for the Ducks, his status is to be determined this week. But if he's good to go, they'll have him out there. He was a kind of last-minute scratch, I guess you could say, against Northwestern this weekend. But boy, Oregon's running backs didn't have any issue picking up the slack.
Oh my gosh, they were so good. So good. And specifically Deer Hill. Oh, every time he touches the ball, it turns to gold, man. An explosive play happens. Like specifically, and I highlighted this over on Twitter. What really impressed me about that long touchdown run is like his patience as a young running back to allow Kenyon Sadiq to kind of get out in front of him and get that block. A lot of times, especially with young explosive, we heard about this in the air in the spring. I remember Noah Whittington specifically talking about this. He's like, man, Deer's got a lot of speed, but he's got to find a way to kind of harness it. It's just out there, and he's explosive. That's great, but he's kind of not bottle it in entirely, but he's got to be able to contain it and then burst when he needs to. And that's exactly what that 66-yard run was. The patience to allow Sadiq to get that key block. And then once he got that seam, people say shifting into another gear. He's going multiple gears up. The explosiveness to be able to run away from guys. It's just, we've seen him when he touches the ball, good things happen. So I'm very much in the camp of Deer Hill needs to get maybe more consistent carries within this offense, and he just proves it consistently every single week that he's creating scoring opportunities, that he's creating big chunk explosive play opportunities as well. I mean, Jaden Lamar was the main back this week. I believe he's maybe, he's great when he gets on the perimeter. Like I said this, I think throughout the spring and stuff, I always kind of viewed him as a little bit of a situational, maybe a change of pace, a little bit type of back for this team. Noah, I think is, the most experienced, most complete back probably on this team. Dier, you might have said this during fall camp in some of your updates that I think he might be the most talented guy on this in this running back room overall of all these guys. And of course, you got Jordan Davison. I think I said it after week 1. I'm like, well, there's a chance. I don't know how big of a chance at that time when I was saying it, that he might lead the team in touchdowns. Now it doesn't seem like that far-fetched because of just how many short yardage goal line opportunities that he's getting this season. So I think they're still kind of figuring some things out. We'll see what the health is like for Noah going forward. But I think the more you can get the ball into 23's hands, I think the more explosive plays you're going to get in the run game.
Yeah, he's just an absolute playmaker, and he continues to be a guy that makes the absolute most of his touches. And to Lamar and Davison, Lanning was asked a little bit about their role on offense last night, and he was speaking about how effective they've been as blockers. Jordan Davison has been great at paving the way for Deer Hill, two true freshmen out there for the Ducks, and those are encouraging things to see from your backs, especially young guys that are able to be relied upon in key blocking situations. You got to give Noah his flowers for that amazing blitz pickup he had against Oklahoma State last week on Dante's big touchdown pass to, I believe it was Decorium Moore. So I think we'll definitely see the Ducks run the ball and look to establish that on the ground this week against the Beavers. Just looking at some of the stats here, Ted, Texas Tech only ran for 135 yards against Oregon State, so not like an insane performance. They averaged 3.5 yards a carry. So far this year, Oregon State's defense has given up 146.7 rush yards per game and 4.4 yards per attempt. So definitely think Oregon's going to be trying to establish the run this week when the Beavers come to town. The guy that I'm kind of excited to see from Oregon State is Malik Murphy, because he's a top guy from Southern California. He was at the Elite 11 in the opening, and that was the first year when he was coming out that I got to cover any kind of football in person for high school. And dude, this guy does not look like a quarterback, like at all. Even I would say he looks more like a linebacker or a lineman. I mean, he's like 6'5", probably closer to 240. I don't even know what he's listed at on the Oregon State roster, but he's had an interesting path starting off at Texas, going over to Duke. Now he's at Oregon State. And this is a guy who I think you wouldn't expect Oregon State to have this caliber of a passer. And I don't think that the season hasn't been going great for them so far. Obviously 0-3. I think he has a 6-5 touchdown to interception ratio, but Malik Murphy can rip it, man. So the Ducks got to be ready when it comes game time on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of look at some of the disparities between run and pass this year. You go back to that Cal game. Malik Murphy threw the ball 33 times. Anthony Hankerson, who's Oregon State's top running back, carried the ball just 15 times. You move forward to Fresno State that's just a weird game because Oregon State outgained them 528-318 by more than 200 yards, yet found a way to lose by 9 points. Malik Murphy threw 2 interceptions in that game, but Murphy threw the ball 48 times in that game. Maybe not something we're used to seeing out of Oregon State over the years. They've been a little bit more of a physical type of football team. And then you look at it against Texas Tech, threw it 43 times. So this is a team that's gonna put the ball in the air. Trent Walker, I believe, is the receiver. David Wells on the outside. Just a couple of names to keep an eye on. Is this the game where Oregon's secondary, the deep third, gets tested a little bit more? We'll see. It certainly seems like the Beavers want to throw the ball and stretch the ball down the field. But that's, I think, what we said about Oklahoma State. And they didn't really get a lot of opportunities to stretch the field as well. So I think it remains to be seen. We'll see if this pass rush can really hit home. Maybe a multiple sack day, maybe for Mateo again. So we'll see kind of how it goes. But yeah, I think that the Malik Murphy it's a very interesting case study to where he was sitting at Texas and now being the quarterback at somewhere like Oregon State. But I think what we've seen from Malik this year is there could be turnovers at had. He has turned the football over, certainly more than Beaver fans probably would have liked. So maybe the secondary is going to be able to get in there and create some short fields for the Duck offense.
And I like that you mentioned the pass rush, Ted, because I feel like I've been expecting Oregon in each week to maybe show up a little bit more in that department, but maybe part of it's also scheme and approach and game script from some of these other coaches just trying to get the ball out quick so these defensive linemen can't get home. But maybe this is the week that we see Oregon kind of ratchet it up. I feel like Oregon State's been known, maybe they haven't had the best teams, but they've been known to have some pretty good scrappy offensive lines that don't make it easy to get after the quarterback or get in the backfield. So I'm excited for this game for sure. And this is going to be kind of Oregon's last, I think, tune-up opportunity heading into Penn State. And I'm just trying to think of what else I want to see from the Ducks that gives you a bit more confidence heading into Happy Valley. I think it's probably stopping the run for sure. And then just getting off to a fast start again. And I think we should expect to see that because they're going to be at home in Autzen where they play their best football.
Yeah, and like the things we were just laying out about how many times that Oregon State is putting the ball into the air. I don't know how much their run defense is going to be tested, and therefore I don't know how much we're going to really learn. So this isn't a team that maybe hasn't been favoring the run as much. Maybe it's because they've been down by a lot in this game, so they got to throw to be able to get back into it. So maybe we won't really learn a lot about the run defense for the Ducks, and I guess that's okay. But if we learn more about the secondary over the top, that's fine too, because we saw Dylan Thieneman come over and make a really good pass breakup working toward the boundary against Oklahoma State. Other than that, we haven't seen these safeties really tested, 15 yards down the field, 20 yards down the field. And if some of these guys, man coverage down the field, if some of these guys can really stick with their assignment. So, maybe this will provide an opportunity for that to happen. But you kind of mentioned the Penn State match. This is the last opportunity to really gain that momentum. This is their last opportunity to be able to gain some confidence. I think if you're a coaching staff in this one, you really want to be able to focus in on really fine tune some of those rotations and really tighten up some of those rotations. If you're deciding, hey, this room is 3 deep and 4 deep, how do we get it to 2 deep, and who are we going to be able to focus on? As some of our 2 impact players at this position or that position, maybe this game against Oregon State will help you determine that. Maybe it will, maybe it won't when they go to Penn State. So obviously it's a great confidence building situation to be able to get back and be able to play your best going into that game against the Nittany Lions.
And just a final thought on the secondary before we get into our very last topic on today's show, Ted. Aaron Flowers has been playing some good football, man.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think with
sorry, I lost my mic there for a second, Ted.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Working on it here.
I think with
all right, Ted.
Yep, I got you.
Let me pause it. Okay, we're back. God bless StreamYard and being able to pause. But for whatever reason, my mic thought I unplugged it when I hadn't touched it. But yeah, Aaron Flowers has been playing some great football. I think he's another very encouraging sign in the young secondary. Jaden Kennedy has been playing some great football coming over to the Ducks this offseason. So I think you like those encouraging signs from your defense overall. Maybe not the best day from the D-line, but the linebackers were doing pretty well, and so were the defensive backs. Last topic here for us, Ted, to wrap up Tuesday with Ted here on the Ducks Dish podcast. How about some updated national championship odds? Let's go big picture. This coming from BetMGM. On Tuesday morning, you have Ohio State leading the way at plus 550, Georgia and Penn State at plus 600. And then who is that? Number 3 odds, you got Texas and the Ducks at plus 700. So, I mean, there's areas that we're kind of nitpicking and areas where Oregon needs to grow. But up until this past week, Ted, Oregon looked like they were just maybe arguably the most dominant team in college football. but I'm glad that they experienced a little bit of adversity against Northwestern.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of talked about that on my program earlier in the week. This is a chance, I think, to maybe for Dan to kind of get back into that maybe motivational mode, so to speak. And, because it's hard to motivate your guys. I know he got a little bit of extra juice for the Oklahoma State game. It's hard when you're winning by 50 points and 60 points and everybody says you're doing something right. I mean, we know Dan is a master motivator. He's going to find a way, even if they are winning by that point. But that doesn't mean it makes it easier. When you kind of have a game like this game against Northwestern, it's going to tell you much more about your team, what you need to be able to work on to be able to be the last team standing and hoisting the trophy than a blowout, a 50-point blowout, a 60-point blowout. So it's important that they got this type of learning experience pre-Penn State. If they go out and beat Northwestern by 50 and, if they went out and beat Oregon State by 50, there's not a lot of educational opportunities to figure out, what you need to get better on. So that's why going back to the doctor this week in practice could be one of the biggest weeks of the season for them to kind of figure out what they have to get better on. We talked about run defense and all of that. And I kind of look at these odds that you're presenting right now. I mean, there's teams in that group. I mean, Texas, Arch Manning has not looked as good as maybe the hype that he was getting this season. They don't look like the SEC juggernaut that maybe was predicted at the beginning of the season. Penn State in some of these games against lesser opponents maybe haven't looked as good as they wanted to. I've been kind of sniffing around some folks in the Penn State fan base that says, hey, we got to get some of the stuff together. So maybe they're not playing 1,000%, so to speak. Georgia got pushed to the absolute limit against Tennessee. Ohio State, I think, is still Ohio State. I mean, that's the team right now around college football that still spooks me because that defense is nasty. The Matt Patricia's got those boys flying around. It still looks like one of the best in the country, and we know what they have from a pass catching standpoint. They have as many of explosive playmakers that there are in college football right now. But this feels like a year where some unpredictable things could happen, and then maybe that could be the recipe for a young team like Oregon. But we got a long way to go. I mean, it's week 4. It's week 4, and what teams look like in week 4, or what teams look like, at rivalry weekend can be very, very different. So, and that's what I said kind of starting out. I'm like, if this is the starting point, if this is the launching point, much higher, this was before this last week, much higher through 2 games than it was after Idaho and Boise State last year. And last year's Oregon team was pretty darn good, and they accomplished a lot. So if you've got a higher launching point, a quarterback that can maybe do more, how high is that going to be able to get you? I think Oregon stacks up with just about any team in college football right now. An interesting one right now is Miami. Of course, Mario Cristobal, the former head coach of the Ducks. A lot of people loving the Hurricanes right now, but I think as Duck fans know, they have in the back of your mind, we know there's always a Mario game every year, right? There's always one out there where maybe they should win by 20 or 30 points and it ends up on the losing end. So we'll see if the Canes can kind of buck that trend. But I think it's going to be a fun year, and Oregon's certainly going to be in this conversation.
I expect Oregon to be right there in the conversation. And a lot of the heavyweights or perceived heavyweights haven't looked all that dominant, or maybe they've had moments of weakness where you're like, hey, are you struggling with Austin P, Georgia at times? Or Texas has had moments where they haven't looked super great. So I think every one of these top teams has looked gettable at times, but I think Ohio State probably deserves to be up there as they are. I'm interested right there with you to see what happens with the Canes because we know that Mario Cristobal isn't the very best when it comes to clock management or other things can pop up situationally, whatever it is. But I mean, you got to give credit where it's due. They're playing some good football right now over there in Coral Gables. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to zoom out a little bit as we wind down here on the pod, Ted. Any closing remarks before we get out of here?
It's just it's rivalry week. It's a great chance for the Ducks to kind of really get that last fine tune before they go into that game against Penn State, which a game everybody is looking forward to. The Nittany Lions with a bye this week. I know there's been some talk about that over on Scoop Duck, but I will say this: I think Oregon's a young team. Oregon is a team, and then you have Penn State, of course, that's the experienced team. But with the youth, I think you want to be able to get as many reps and build as much confidence and build as much momentum as possible. So people are saying, oh man, Penn State's got the bye. They got a couple of weeks to prepare for this. Look, in all honesty, with what Penn State and their schedule has done, they've been preparing for this since August. Okay, let's call a spade right now. So I don't think one extra week is going to make a huge amount of difference. But for the Ducks, I think to be able to get that extra game under their belt compared to what Penn State is doing, I think that is going to be a benefit when these two teams collide. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Certainly, should be a fun time for the folks, everybody attending the game in Autzen Stadium. This weekend, the rivalry going to take a pause next year. They're trying to get it back on the schedule. So who knows? Maybe this is the last one in a couple of years. So for those of you that are going to be in the stadium, maybe enjoy it, because it's who knows when it's going to come back around.
Well, it's been a great time having you back for another pod, Ted. Quick little look at Scoop Duck here. If you're on YouTube, definitely wanted to just tell you guys, come check us out. Come join the party. We got recruiting. We got Oregon football. We got portal, whatever it is. Great message boards. So we would love for you to come and join us at scoopduck.com. But if you want to find more of Ted, you can follow him on X at Ted on the Ducks, that show out west, I believe on YouTube and TikTok, wherever you get your Duck content. Ted's got you covered there. Does a great job. If you want to find more of me, you can follow me at Torres Sports on all social media platforms. And do me a favor, share the show, share the Ducks Dish podcast with your friends, with your family, and with another Duck fan. But until next time, I appreciate you guys tuning in.